Hello, my friends. Today, Trump made a very interesting statement. What Vladimir Putin doesn't realize is that if it weren't for me, lots of really bad things would already happened to Russia, and I mean really bad. He is playing with fire. Friends, what do you think about that? Has Trump finally started to realize that Putin can only be stopped by a full victory on the front and the complete defeat of Russian forces? Be sure to share your thoughts in the comments. Meanwhile, the US State Department has already stated that his comments should be taken seriously. However, this particular statement supposedly doesn't indicate sharp criticism of Putin. When asked by a reporter whether we should expect a shift in Trump's policies after his public dissatisfaction with Putin, State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce replied that she wouldn't call it dissatisfaction. She said it was the statement of someone who has long fought for peace in many regions. I believe Russia should take this seriously. The American people certainly do. As I've said, the president has many tools to make our position clear. It's obvious. They're afraid to say they're against Putin. They're just afraid of him. And this statement proves it. But Medvedev has already managed to threaten Trump with World War III. Regarding Trump's words that Putin playing with fire and really bad things are happening to Russia, I only know of one really bad thing World War III. I hope Trump understands that. Honestly, what's happening right now is just a suckers. People as high ranking as Trump and others are essentially having a dialogue through social media. Politics has dropped to the level of internet posts. This isn't diplomacy anymore. The level of leadership has really fallen. Friends, be sure to share your thoughts in the comments. Meanwhile, Piskov commented on the approval of long-range missile strikes on Russia.
These messages coming out of Germany are very contradictory. But judging by what Chancellor Merz is saying, it seems that European countries are retroactively announcing that they've lifted all restrictions on long-range weapons. Does this mean we're about to see a new round of escalation?
Well, first of all, Merz has clearly confused everyone, if he hasn't confused himself, because some members of the German government denied what the Chancellor said. That was just yesterday. They claimed it wasn't true. No permissions were granted. But as you can see, he keeps insisting that such a decision was made, that Ukraine received the green light, without any distance limitations, to strike deep into Russian territory. If that's true, then it's an extremely dangerous decision. It's literally several steps closer to more confrontation. And of course, it strongly contradicts any peace efforts and the fragile peace process that's just barely beginning.
They're saying it's meant to create strategic uncertainty for Russia. In other words, we're not supposed to know what they're planning with this.
Look, our president made it very clear. No one gets to fly drones around Russia and act like hooligans. You cause trouble, you'll get hit back. Whether there's a peace process or not, whether Trump says something or not, Russia will ensure its own security. So if they're trying to create uncertainty, they'll first create uncertainty for themselves. And that uncertainty will become their burden. Let's see if they can carry it.
But over there, they're presenting it all as if we Russia are the ones targeting civilians and peaceful infrastructure. That these are allegedly intentional strikes on civilians. And supposedly, Ukraine doesn't do that.
The truth is, unfortunately, neither Europeans nor Americans are willing to acknowledge the drone strikes that target social infrastructure, ambulances, in the Belgorod region, in Kursk, and so on. They simply refuse to see it, but if something happens in Ukraine, suddenly everyone's blowing trumpets in perfect sync.
In the end, friends, Russia invaded and destroyed Ukrainian cities, and that's normal. But if Ukraine strikes back at Russia, that's already escalation. Friends, I have no words. And today, we are already seeing that the Russian offensive has essentially begun, both along the border and in the areas around Konstantinivka and Pokrovsk, due to the very high level of activity. However, Foreign analysts are reporting that the major offensive is still ahead. What we are witnessing right now is just the beginning. That's because 125,000 Russian troops have already been concentrated along the border, and they are planning to create a buffer zone. Russia is expected to launch a large scale offensive soon because Putin is confident he can win through military means. The main direction of the offensive will be the Donetsk region. There will also be smaller scale attacks along the border areas of the Sumy and Kharkiv regions. At the moment, 125,000 Russian troops are stationed along the Sumy Kharkiv border. The coming months will be another major challenge for Kyiv. Ukraine lacks sufficient manpower and the Ukrainian forces are unable to go on the offensive, so they will hold the line in defense. Overall, the situation is catastrophic. The Russians are not stopping, and today in the Sumy region, we can already see that the Russians have managed to capture several settlements over the past 3 days and have made significant advances. The General Staff officially confirmed the loss of the villages of Basivka, Loknya, Bilovody, Zhuravka, and Vaselivka. Currently, fighting is ongoing for uh, Vodolakhy and Volodymyrivka. According to statements from Ukrainian soldiers, an assault on Yablonivka is expected soon. The Russians are preparing for it, so the advance in this area is continuing. In the past 24 hours alone, there have been reports of 23 attacks, but we're still waiting to see how the situation develops. It's extremely difficult here right now. In the Kharkiv direction, a major offensive hasn't started yet, but there is a high likelihood that the Russians will attack both the Sumy and Kharkiv regions simultaneously. They understand that Ukraine lacks enough resources, so it's strategically important for them to stretch the front line as much as possible. For now, attacks are happening only in Vovchansk, but the front line hasn't shifted over the past day. Now let's move straight to Konstantinivka because serious problems are about to erupt there. In the Chasiv Yar area, the Russians continue to storm the central part of the city and are actively pushing through near Stupochki, Pretechene, Bila Gora, and Ozaryanivka. The front line here hasn't changed in the past 24 hours either, but the level of activity is very high, both in terms of ground assaults and the use of FPV drones. Further south, the Russians have managed to break through significantly beyond Alexandropol and along the highway. They've already started advancing toward the western part of Konstantinivka. In effect, they are trying to stretch the flank to semi-encircle the city. Other units continue storming the villages of Zarya and Sherbinivka in an attempt to force the Ukrainian forces to withdraw from this pocket. In the near future, they are expected to try to align the front line along the Klebenbyk reservoir. For now, Ukraine hasn't officially confirmed that the Russians have taken Stara Mykolаivka, but judging by the videos circulating online, the village appears to be under Russian control and they've already advanced to the outskirts of Zorya. So we'll need to wait for the map update. The situation here may be even worse than it currently appears. Today, it was also reported that Russian FPV drones are now reaching Slovyansk with the first recorded strikes in the city. Throughout the day, Slovyansk was attacked by Russian FPV drones. Hits were recorded at the trolley bus depot and an industrial zone. At the moment, there are no reported casualties, reported Vadim Lyakh, head of the regional administration. The situation remains difficult in the Pokrovsk direction as well. Here, Russian forces continue the attacks near Malinivka, Myrolюбivka, and are assaulting Lysivka and Udachne. In addition, they are pressing the offensive in the Popiev Yar area to expand the territory under their control. It's clear that Ukrainian forces were unable to cut off this section of the front in the Tarasivka area in time, and now the Russians have begun advancing rather quickly. According to recent reports from Ukrainian soldiers, Russian troops have already entered Popiev Yar and Poltavka. Intense fighting is currently underway for control of these villages. In the Novopavlivka direction, the Russians are storming Novomykolaivka, pushing forward near uh, sorry, near Kotlerivka, and fighting continues for Troitske. They're also trying to break through to Oleksievka, and battles are ongoing in the area of Odradne. Here, the Russians are gradually making progress through the open fields and continuing to push toward the administrative border of Donetsk region. In the Velika Novosilka direction, Russian forces are assaulting Vilne Pole, pushing near Novosilka, and storming Novopil and Zelene Pole. Shelling in this area hasn't stopped, but the Russians have so far failed to achieve any major breakthroughs. The only thing increasing at the moment is the size of the gray zone. In the Zaporizhia direction, Russian forces are attacking Novoandriivka, Mali Sherbaki, and Stepove, and carrying out a large number of artillery strikes. Over the past 24 hours, the front line has remained unchanged, but the intensity of activity continues. The Russians are still trying to push further. In the Kherson direction, Russian forces continue the attacks on the islands and are actively shelling Kherson and the entire right bank of the Dnipro River. The situation remains tense, although there have been no changes along the front line. In the Siversk direction, the Russians are attempting to break through towards Siversk, but as before, they haven't achieved any success. Today, they are attacking Grigorivka, Bilogorivka, and areas near Verkhnyokamyensk. However, the front line remains unchanged and all attacks are being successfully repelled. In the Liman direction, activity remains high. Russian forces are assaulting Zarichne, Yampolivka, Ritko-Dub, Novy Mir, and Druzhlyubivka. So far, there have been no changes in the past 24 hours, but the gray zone is significantly expanded. This is particularly visible on geolocation maps. If they manage to gain a foothold, changes to the front line could occur. For now, the Ukrainian forces are holding the defense as best they can. In the Borova direction, attacks on Boguslavka and Novakruglякivka continue, but for now, activity is minimal and there are no changes along the front line. In the Kharkiv, Kupiansk direction, Russian forces are assaulting Petropavlivka, but they have achieved no success and the front line remains stable as before. In the Dvorichna area, the Russians continue attacks on Kutkivka, but the Ukrainian forces are successfully repelling all assaults, and there have been no changes to the front line over the past 24 hours. But Keith Kellogg continues to claim that Trump is the only one who can stop this war. His frustration is understandable because what's happening, attacking cities and indiscriminately killing women and children, it's a clear violation of the 1977 Geneva Protocol, which was designed to prevent this. The Geneva Convention is the law of war, and Russia signed it. It's a shame they don't understand that while negotiations drag on, Ukraine is losing territory and thousands of people are dying every day. Friends, be sure to share your thoughts in the comments. Meanwhile, foreign media report that Europe continues to trade with Russia despite the war. Russia is earning more from raw materials exports to Europe than the European Union spends on Ukraine, writes Bild. In 2025, Russia will receive 233 billion euros from energy and raw materials exports, and over 20 billion euros of that will come from European Union countries. That's more than all the military aid Europe has provided to Ukraine, Bild reports. Even after sanctions, Europe continues to buy gas, oil, coal, and uranium from Russia. In February alone, such purchases amounted to 2 billion euros. And the money, as Bild stresses, goes to the war efforts. Russia is ramping up investments in its army and defense industry. As we can see, Europe is still profiting, only now it's done through intermediaries. Sadly, that's the reality. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. And that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.